to SVG-TV News for Monday, June 30th, 2025. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is expected to award another 2,000 tuition scholarships for the upcoming 2025-2026 academic year. This announcement was made by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves on radio yesterday. The Prime Minister noted that the government remains committed to ensuring access to higher education, highlighting that in the previous academic year, all applicants who applied for tuition scholarships were approved and that this year will be no different. He urges all interested individuals to apply early.
Just over 2,000 tuition scholarships. Everybody who matriculated to enter university, they got a tuition scholarship. And I'm going to do that again this year. And I hope people hear me and make applications. You have constituencies. You take mine, a rural constituency of just over 5,000 persons on the voters list. And that number is not in the country. We had last year, just for tuition scholarships, awarded, the academic year just concluded, nearly 120 persons, and that was non-usual. And in addition to those, there are others who won other scholarships.
The Prime Minister also stated that the government will continue in its partnerships with several international universities, including long-standing collaborations with institutions in Cuba.
Right now, in Cuba, we have 48 persons who are studying there. One person is doing a program privately. But of that 48, we have 41 of them in doing medicine. This year, we are going to send off 10 more students to Cuba to do medicine. We just graduated a group at Monroe College. There were 48 of them, 49. You saw that big graduation ceremony which took place in New York. Mm-hmm. We have a special program with Monroe College, as indeed we have with the University of the West Indies. And as Justin knows very well, there's a program which is being elaborated with the Five Islands campus in Antigua, which is under his leadership.
In 2025, the government allocated $60 million EC dollars for post-secondary and tertiary education, $15 million more than the previous year. According to the Prime Minister, this increased investment reflects the administration's belief in education as a key pillar of national development.
What is taking place is absolutely remarkable, and Justin is quite correct. The critical mass is important for economic development and given the change in nature of the economy. And I'm satisfied that we are beginning to see the benefits of the education revolution in conjunction with other policies like those for infrastructure. You hardly have many persons who are graduates of the community college who are not in a job. Hardly. These numbers are relatively minuscule given the numbers which we put out. And similarly for university.
The tuition scholarship program has supported thousands of Vincentians in pursuing degrees locally, regionally, and internationally, and continues to be an essential feature of the government's education policy. In other local news now, we hear that despite facing significant challenges, including the disruptions caused by Hurricane Beryl, students who sat the 2025 Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, CPEA, delivered an impressive performance, achieving a national pass rate of 87.3%. This is just under half a percentage point lower than the 87.7% recorded in 2024, which marked the highest pass rate since the introduction of the CPEA. Minister of Education Curtis King commended all stakeholders, teachers, principals, parents, and education officers for their dedication and resilience, which he said contributed to this year's strong performance.
And the teachers, the parents and guardians, and I don't ever forget this group, the sponsors, and Cecily, you know I'm talking about, because being part, well, both of you, being part of the credit union movement, where we focus a lot on education, you get support from credit unions and other institutions, banks, all sorts of private sector institutions,
National Lottery.
right, and other government agencies, and don't forget individuals.
I was just going to
Yes,
invite you.
individuals.
Yeah.
So, and they provide that sort of support. So we have to commend them all. And people don't like to talk about this. I mean, whenever anything goes wrong, you blame the Ministry of Education. But we also have to remember the Ministry of Education too, when you have good things happening, because the Ministry of Education, they are the ones responsible for the system. They are the ones responsible for executing whatever policies the cabinet identifies. So I have to commend also the Chief Education Officer, Permanent Secretary, and the various officials in the Ministry of Education for the role that they play in the whole process.
Analyzing the performance at the school level, Minister King revealed that out of the 67 primary schools with students sitting the exams, 19 schools recorded a 100% pass rate. 17 schools achieved a pass rate between 90% and 99%. 18 schools had a pass rate between 80% and 89%.
19 and 17 and 18, good. 35, 54. Roughly 54 students, yes, schools recorded pass rates of 80% and above. I mean, that is quite excellent. We still, however, can't relax and be satisfied, because we still have to look at what is happening in the other schools that recorded 70%, between 70% and 80%.
And do you have the number?
Yeah, seven.
7 schools.
Right. And those that scored between 60 and 69%, 5. And we had one school that scored 57%. So while it's true, we are happy, and a lot of the focus always seems to go on the top performers. We also have to be conscious that we have to make targeted intervention in areas where we have challenges, because really and truly, I don't believe in this period, given the support that is there for education, that any school should be falling less than 80% performance at that exam. Maybe we should be aiming to see 100% pass in almost every school. But I'm saying, we figure 80, at least I figure 80 is cut-off point. So we have to do the necessary intervention.
Minister King also noted concerns regarding performance inconsistencies among some schools. He said while several schools are showing consistent high performance, others are not, and this is something they need to closely examine. He also drew attention to the declining student population at the grade 6 level. In many institutions of the 67 schools, 14 had 10 or fewer students writing the CPEA, and 34 had between 11 and 25 students.
Yeah. That is 48 out of 67 schools. 48 out of 67 schools with 25 or less students, okay, in the grade 6 class. 7 schools entered a number of 26 to 35 students. 3 schools entered classes, a cohort of 36 to 45 students. 6 schools had 46 to 55 students, and 3 schools had over 55 students. And I could identify these schools: CW Prescott, 96, Kingston Preparatory School, 108, and the RC, Roman Catholic School, they are 96, and CW Prescott, 95. And again, and you look at the results, obviously, the schools with the smaller number of students, what we call a high percentage pass rate. That's not to say some schools did not record too high a pass rate who have a low number of students, especially between 26 and 35. But generally, the schools with the small population are those that recorded 100%. In fact, for the larger schools, and we really have to tip our hat off to them. I mean, the Roman Catholic school, they scored 100% pass rate. And prep school was 98. I mean, 98% out of 100. You know, we're talking about one or so person who might not have met the standard. And the CW Prescott, 90% pass rate. So
Minister King also attributed this year's commendable results in part to improvements in the teacher-to-student ratio, noting that the increased number of teachers per student in the classroom has had a positive impact on learning outcomes. The Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, CPEA, is a regional examination developed by the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, to assess the competencies of primary school students at the end of grade 6. It evaluates students across 4 core areas: mathematics, language, arts, science, and social studies, combining both internal and external assessments. 34 mathematics educators who recently completed a professional development course under the Commonwealth of Learning's Advancing Caribbean Teachers in Mathematics Act Math project were awarded certificates of completion at a graduation ceremony held today. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Michael Burke, congratulated the educators and emphasized that their achievement will positively impact the education system in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
But recognizing the need for us to improve our delivery of mathematics, when we consider a regional average of about 35% and a local average between 27 and 29%, when we consider as well that over the last 10 years, the only time that we were able to achieve over 50% passes is when we had modified examination. We had 1 paper. So it says that our students are somewhat in CPEA mode, that they're perhaps good at the multiple choice, but the longer questions, the more complex questions presents a challenge. And mathematics in itself is a challenge, and I can testify that this is the case. Having gone through the system as an outstanding math student in primary school, but once I arrived in secondary school, math became a challenge because math requires practice. It requires hard work. It requires discipline. And these are the things that were lacking somewhat in my formative years. And the results demonstrated that it was lacking. But you as educators, you as professionals, you have a glorious opportunity to do something marvelous, to transform education, to transform student lives, to see a visible improvement in mathematics score. You are now equipped with the tools, with the instruments, with the knowledge to do better, to do more.
President and CEO of the Commonwealth of Learning, Professor Peter Scott, addressed the ceremony virtually. He said the graduation was not only a recognition of the educators' academic achievement, but also of their commitment to advancing mathematics education in the country.
To the 34 educators who have completed the ACT in Mathematics program, your efforts stand as a beacon of what is possible when purpose meets practice. Minister King, we are especially proud of your role as a member of COL's Board of Governors, shaping educational direction not only for your country and the OECS, but across the entire Commonwealth. Your leadership echoes through this initiative. The project set out to address a critical need: improving mathematics teaching capacity to ultimately enhance student performance, an urgent concern given that only 36% of students across the region passed the CSEC mathematics exam in 2024. Through ACT, you have taken the first firm step on a longer road. And as the saying goes, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Today, that step becomes a stride. Equally powerful has been your engagement with the colleagues across the region, sharing challenges, discussing solutions, and discovering that your local issues are regional in scope and solvable through shared innovation and vision. This spirit of a collaboration is precisely what the University of the Small States of the Commonwealth was designed to cultivate.
Professor Scott encouraged the educators to continue innovating in their classrooms, noting that the seeds that they have planted through the course will grow into stronger students, more resilient education systems, and ultimately a brighter future for all. Nicole Franklin, the ACT Math Coordinator for St. Vincent and Grenadines, also praised the success of the project. She noted that the initiative has already delivered meaningful results and laid the groundwork for continued professional development.
I know you are engaged in the CPEA approach through fractions. You did problem solving, you did peer assessment, gender responsive strategies, technology integration, and application of knowledge. You were able to apply a lot of what you were doing right in your classrooms. So if we are to look at some of these words that I talk about there, pedagogy, this involves the knowledge and theory of teaching, okay? Many of us here, we could quote a number of theories. When we think of mathematics, we think of constructivism. We think of the teaching methods involved, how we assess, and importantly, how we operate in the classroom. Creating that safe space for children to learn come to mind, and how gender differs in the classroom. Plan to reach boys and girls, especially our boys these days, okay? We want to respond to their needs. And you covered all of these things in this program. I want you to reflect on where you are and what you have to do, what changes you need to make. Now, having learned all of these, we are hoping that you would practice what was said. We cannot do all of this work and we don't continue the practice. You would have learned a lot. Sometimes this is as far as many persons go. They learn a lot and that is good enough for them. A resounding no to that. You have to put what you have learned into practice.
The ACT Math project, supported by the Commonwealth of Learning, aims to strengthen mathematics education in the Caribbean by equipping teachers with innovative strategies, digital tools, and research-based approaches to enhance teaching and learning outcomes. In other local news now, we hear that the traffic branch of the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force, the RSVG-PF, has launched an investigation into a motor vehicle collision that occurred on Friday, June 27th at approximately 7:19 p.m. on the tarmac of the decommissioned E.T. Joshua Airport, which claimed the life of High Ellis, a Vincentian promoter of Brighton, Toronto, Canada. The RSVG-PF cell's preliminary investigation indicates that motor vehicle registration number P233, a blue Toyota Vitz car owned and driven by Christopher Richardson, a 23-year-old police recruit of Mesopotamia, and motor vehicle registration number P222, a white Mercedes-Benz AMG SUV owned and driven by High Ellis, formerly of Brighton, USA, were traveling along the Arnoldville tarmac in the opposite direction. P22 was traveling north, while P233 was heading south towards the sea. On reaching the vicinity of the girls' high school, motor vehicle P222 collided with the left side of P233. The collision caused motor vehicle P222 to flip over several times, then landed on its roof. The RSVG-PF cells officers from the traffic branch were alert and later visited and processed the scene of the accident. The driver of P222 was pronounced dead at the scene by a medical doctor. Officers from the Criminal Records Office also processed the scene. The driver of a P233 complained of severe pain in the head and was transported to the Milton Cater Memorial Hospital for treatment. A post-mortem examination will be conducted on on the deceased to ascertain the cause of death. Investigations continue into the matter. The SVG-PF extends its condolences to the family and friends of the deceased during this difficult time and urges all motorists to drive with due care and attention and show courtesy to all road users. Meanwhile, the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, the SVG-PF, is investigating a homicide that occurred in Yambu on Friday, June 27, 2025, which claimed the life of Don Jackson, a 60-year-old farmer formerly of Yambu. The police say preliminary investigations reveal that approximately 11:30 a.m. on the date in question, Jackson's sons were involved in a family dispute. Jackson reportedly intervened in the dispute and was struck with an object to the side of his face. He was subsequently transported to the Levi Latham Health Center and was later pronounced deceased by a medical practitioner. Police from the South Central Division processed the crime scene and collected exhibits of evidential value. A post-mortem examination will also be conducted to ascertain the exact cause of death. One male suspect, a close relative of the deceased, is in custody assisting the police with the investigation. The SVG-PF appeals to anyone with information that could assist in the investigation to come forward and extends its condolences to the family and friends of the deceased during this difficult time. In more local news now, we hear that the spirit of youth and Vincentian culture was on full display this past weekend at Junior Carnival 2025. From dazzling costumes to high-energy performances, young masqueraders showcased the creativity, talent, and vibrancy of the nation's various mass bands. The Band of the Year results. First place, SVG Players International, a tribute to David Julian Pollard with 449 points. Second place, Blondibird and Friends, tribute to Carnival Icons with 428 points. Third place, Nelson Block Mass Must Play with 422 points. Fourth place, Lynx Mass Band Riddles with 412 points. In the section of the bands result, the first and second place, SVG Players International Mass Band. Third place, the tie with Blondibird and Friends and Mirage. The junior queen of the band's first place, Kimara Stapleton, Calypso of SVG Players International Mass Band with 229 points. Second place, AJ Brewster, Waters Hands and Cannot Clap, Who Am I, a clock of Lynx Mass Band with 213 points. Third place, Deja Belenji Mass in Tongue of My Imagination with 213 points. Daisha Martin Peath of Nelson Block with 191 points. Junior King of the band's first place, Josiah Baker, a Kite Master of SVG Players International Bass Band. A tie for second place shared between Kyle Grant of Blondibird in France with 198 points and Logan Gill Joker in the Pack of Extreme Fanatics with 198 points. Mass on the road competition, first place, Nelson Block, Mass Must Play, 221 points. Second place, SVG Players International, a tribute to David Julian Pollard, 211 points. Third place, Blondibird and Friends, tribute to Carnival Icons with 206 points. Fourth place, Mirage Milanji, The Art of Color with 200 points. Junior Carnival 2023 proved once again that the future of Vincentian Mass is in capable, creative hands. The energy, imagination, and passion of the young participants continue to breathe new life into this rich cultural tradition called Vinci Mass. And the fallen Calypsonians have been selected from the Calypso semifinals to compete in the Calypso finals scheduled for Sunday, July 6th at the Victoria Park, commencing at 8 p.m. They are Lornette Fire Empress Ned with her song Children of the Drum, Alvin Zion I Denny, We Know Who You Mean, Derek Mansick Alexander, Nothing Good to Say, Chanel McKenzie, A Ghetto Mentality, Maxwell Tajo Francis, Change for What, Zamfe Zangi Adams, My Nation, Bernard Reality I White, Heartbeat, Sheena Collis, Our Nation's Cry, Marvelous Marvel Morgan, Calypso A Singing, Dennis Bowman, Plenty More to Come, Johnny Rebel Hall, The Judiciary, Reserve Robert Patches and Knights fake news. All finalists and a representative from the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Band were invited to a meeting at 6 p.m. at the CDC's conference room. The finalists will be coming up against reigning Calypso monarch Rayon Madzat Primus. President of the St. Vincent and Grenadines Hotel and Tourism Association, Isola Giddens, has declared Restaurant Week 2025 a resounding success, citing positive feedback from both patrons and participating establishments. The week-long celebration of local cuisine and hospitality culminated in a grand gala event held at Ada Restaurant, where participants gathered to mark the occasion. Giddens expressed optimism about the future of the event. She said the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive.
Continue to build on this initiative with your support. We have shared a wonderful week together, celebrating Taste of Vincy Restaurant Week 2025. The SVG-HTA accomplished another goal that was set. We have heard inspiring stories. Yesterday, I was just listening to the heartfelt thank yous on the street safari, and wishes that we do this event again. And please, this is what they were saying, please do not forget us for next year. Tears came to my eyes yesterday, but I held them back. To hear the compliments from the chefs and managers training on cost control. It was not about who can cook or who cannot cook, but the new learning experience. Likewise, the bartenders training, at the end of the 2 days, we saw happy faces, which meant we did something right.
A total of 53 restaurants took part in the 2025 edition of Restaurant Week. As part of the initiative, training sessions were offered not only to restaurant staff, but also to private individuals interested in the culinary and hospitality industries. Additionally, several professionals within the hotel and tourism sector were recognized for their outstanding contributions to the development and promotion of the industry. Looking ahead to 2026, plans are already underway for Restaurant Week 2026, which is scheduled to take place from June 21st to the 27th. Giddens noted that the association remains committed to expanding the event's impact and continuing to highlight the rich culinary culture of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.